I think once AI becomes real, I think we need to worry about, you know, what is control anymore? Because if an AI knows us down to the microsecond of how our behavior is, how do we know that our functionality isn't just being controlled? I think that's when the matrix might happen. When AI is so in tune with us that we don't realize that we're being guided in certain ways or cold in any way. But right now, we're just feeding this database and it's actually doing some fun stuff.
Adam.
Hello.
What's up, bro?
Not much, man.
Thanks for coming in.
Of course. Yeah.
I really dig your shirt.
Yeah. This is my t-shirt line I'm trying to put out there. It's got a lot of my mixed media vibe, the collage and whatnot. And then I got it printed on this, you called it moss. I called it puke green.
Yes.
But you called it moss. Just a standard crew neck. And
I like the crew neck, though.
Yeah.
I like the sleeves, how they go with that long, what's it, cuff, I guess you call it?
No, for sure. It's
I
cuffed
like
out.
the stitching.
Cuff rich on this shirt.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's got that nice boxy cut. So, big old meat boys like you and I, we can feel cozy and comfortable in them.
I got to remember that. Meat Boys.
Mm-hmm.
We're Meat Boys.
That's actually a really good indie game. Is it Meat Boy?
Oh, it was Meat Boy.
Right?
I remember that game.
Yeah.
There was a whole documentary on it, too.
Yeah, you were like a slab of meat, like running full speed, avoiding chainsaws and...
Yeah. That was a great documentary on dudes that just make these video games in their houses and they release them like Xbox Live.
Yeah. Well, Newgrounds, please tell me you know what newgrounds.com is.
Sir, I am not a gamer. I'm sorry. I'm a big baseball fan.
Dude, oh no. Well, yeah, I think there were some baseball simulators, but it was, it was like a stomping ground for people who were just breaking into video games and animation. And I mean, some of them were kind of janky, but some of these people were super talented. And they eventually ended up becoming game developers and animators for like big movies and stuff. But yeah, those were the days, man. Yeah.
What are you, old?
I just turned, I just turned 35. Well, I'm turning 36 this year. Shout out to the Aries out there in the universe. But
there you go.
Yeah. But yeah, and I feel old. Like, I don't know. Like, considering you said you're of Latin descent, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm looking at you now. You're a handsome guy.
Thanks, man.
But because you look so handsome and young, you've got to be like 89, right? That's like what it
90.
90.
Too close.
Because for some reason, and especially in my family, like no one ages. I'm like the only one in the family that still has like I only have 4 bang hairs left. Like I feel old, so. But yeah, but I'm starting to get my gray.
Dude, the gray's where it's at.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
I want to do, hopefully I get the one stripe in the front. I want to look wise, but look like I also sell submarines. Like that.
The wise thing is truth. Because I tell everybody, man, when I first started in the game, marketing stuff, people would kind of listen to me. I had the regular color hair, dark brown. The second this bad boy started going gray and now it's full gray, people are just like, so tell me, what should I be doing next?
Right.
It's like, whoa, dude, you got a gray beard and you're Gandalf.
No, literally instantly.
Yeah.
Because you could have just learned Photoshop yesterday, but if you come walking in with a gray beard, they'll trust you with the whole campaign.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm waiting for it. I recently had to shave it. I realize depending on the length of my beard, I get mistaken for all sorts of characters and people. So for example, when my beard's at the longest, I'll go to a bar and I get more recognized as like, oh, aren't you Josh the mechanic? You're the mechanic guy, right? And I get mistaken constantly. And then, when my beard's really short, then people think I'm a hairstylist or a barista they met one time. So yeah, I think right now I'm at like stage tech look. Like I look like a stage tech. So yeah.
Are you Adam yet?
I think the most Adam has ever been was when my beard was at its pointiest and I had
you did.
I did the curls on my mustache.
Yeah.
I think that was the most Adam, because then what are you going to mistake me for? A magician?
Right.
You met once, like I'm not that guy because he doesn't exist. This is what it is. So yeah,
no doubt, bro.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to that. I take my like head seriously just for like brand purposes.
Yeah.
You know, the cut in the hair, and like the no mustache.
Yeah.
It's gray.
You know what's funny? So I'm pulling up. By the way, your branding, both outside and inside, is outstanding. I feel
Thank
like
you, man.
I left here the other day and I felt like your branding was still on my skin. Like I had to shower after I left your office.
It's
I was
dirty,
like, there's
dirty
so much blue in my retinas right now. But pulling up to your office, your sign, which you're wearing it right now, it's on your chest. So all I kept thinking was, and it's like a scene from The Office. It's like, does Stanley have a mustache or not? Like I saw the logo, I was like, does he have a mustache? Did he forget to put the mustache on there?
No.
You know, because I don't know what it is about bearded guys with thick glasses, especially if they're graphic designers. They definitely made a logo with their face once.
Yes.
I've done it plenty of times.
Yeah.
But you actually stick to it. Like,
you kind of have to.
Yeah.
Branding.
Do you ever grow your mustache out, or is that?
I did this past December just to play Santa. Oh. The first time I ever actually grew a mustache out.
You played Santa?
I play Santa every year.
No.
But I used to have a fake beard. And then this year I was talking to my barber.
Yeah.
I was like, when do you think I should start growing out the mustache and getting the beard long? Because he actually, without really like telling me, but not in like a dick way, he just started trimming my beard, but not cutting it, like letting it grow and then cleaning it and cleaning it. And I was like, wow, I think I could really pull off a real beard this year. I was like, hey, Ryan, how long will it take me to grow a mustache? He's like, stop shaving.
Yeah.
And this was like August.
Yeah.
You know, so finally December came, the mustache. But you know the weirdest thing was, dude? It came in my hair color, dark brown.
Wait a minute.
So I had a dark brown mustache and a white beard.
So the gradient wasn't.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, I had like little specks of gray, but I was like, wow, I cannot believe I just grew like a dark brown mustache.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to get like fake white and put in it, and I hated it. It looked like crap.
Yeah.
So, but it was pretty cool though, because I was able to talk to kids easier without the fake beard on this year. So they came in, they were like, Santa, and they were like, oh, you know.
That's so funny. Wait, do you do this in a specific location, or?
No, I do it just for like friends of mine. My favorite one is I do it for Core Health because they do special needs kids.
Ah, yes.
So like, you know, they can't go to the mall and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they have to be in a quiet environment.
You bring it to them. Yeah,
right.
You have to.
So they come and it's all quiet, and they come and they go, and like I'm not like, oh, like ho ho ho.
Yeah.
I'm just quiet. I'm like, hey guys.
Because sometimes there's a giant red object in the room laughing at me. Yeah. That's nightmare fuel. So it's like,
dude, for sure.
But
man.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So your mustache. So only your beard's white. It's like half of your face. Like you opened up some ancient box somewhere, and half of your face got exposed to like some ancient curse. You shut it real quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're like, oh no. And you're like,
it was so weird.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, what the hell happened? Yeah. So yeah, that was the only time I ever really grew out a mustache, and I couldn't get through the whole season. It was annoying the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So finally, I was like, that was it. I felt like myself after I kept.
Well, what is it about? So like, I have a low thread count up top, but like I have like, you know, Egyptian, you know, sheets right here. So it's like when I shave, the hair gets closer and closer to my eyeballs. What's happening, man?
Well, you're getting older.
Is that what it is?
You start growing hair in weird places you didn't have hair before.
So so like it's just all gonna connect, right?
It
just
might.
into my eyelashes, out my
Wait till
eyebrow.
your ears start happening.
Oh, I've already.
Yeah,
it's already happening.
Dude.
I was at a Zoom meeting today, and I'm nervously twirling my ear hairs, and someone had to stop. They were like, "Adam, you all right? Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah. How do you explain just doing little twisties in your ear?" Yeah, it just wasn't a good look. But yeah.
You zooming with a big boy today or what?
No, this was so a little bit of background on some of the stuff I'm doing recently. You know, as a pixel pusher, you know what I mean? I have to look for, you know, who's hungry and for what, right? So a friend of mine is like, hey, you know, we need a designer for a sneakerhead website. And, you know, I'm not a sneakerhead, right? But I do love what's happening in the trends of like the sneakerhead world.
Right on.
Somebody will buy a tripped out pair of Dunks, but then match it with a death metal t-shirt, even though they don't listen to death metal. But because that death metal shirt had the lime greens and the tripped out yellows. So I was like, okay, that's where I can be for them. So basically it's been a couple years now, and you know, there's only 3 artists on board, and all 3 of us cover like our own style. I'm that tripped out urban fashion kind of stuff. We have somebody who does really good typography, and then someone who does a lot of heavy illustrated stuff, which is key. You know what I mean? That's not a big strength of mine. So today was just a meeting to get us on board with like, how can we make the interface better, and also, well, here's the thing: you can customize the art. That's what I'm leaving out.
Right.
So like when you go on the website, you find a really awesome image, and you want to match it with a pair of pink, Uptowns, right? You find a piece of artwork that you really like, and all of a sudden you can toggle elements of the artwork, the typography. You can change it to a color versus the background of the design. At the end of the day, you have your combo. Even if you don't want it to match with a pair of shoes, but you just like the color green, you can toggle it all to green.
That's cool.
So so it's pretty cool. So we're trying to figure out how do you, and you know how this goes. The more you can cross the client across the street, hold their hand. You know what I mean? They don't have to do too many things to get to the end result. So sorry. That's the key. So we're trying to figure out on the website, how do you make it dummy proof? So
that's like all of us.
Oh, yeah. Because there's consumers that'll, they're smart, but then there's consumers that they just want to press 3 buttons and call it a day.
Well, that's just like social media and instant gratification. That whole thing started, and everybody just wants it in all facets of their life.
Oh yeah,
instant gratification.
Yeah. I did something that really troubled me the other day. I scared myself, and I don't know if it's the old age or maybe my brain's just getting loose, but I said something stupid at the bar. I was like, "Hey, so this weather." I didn't know how to start a conversation, but it was so awkward the way it came out of me and with my left hand, right, in front of everyone at this table, and I'm trying to be the cool guy, and I was like, "Hey, how's the weather?" I pressed Command Z with my hand.
Oh, you just did that?
I did Command Z. So in my head, I was like, I
You're
said
trying to undo
something.
the
I
comment?
try to undo what I just said. And it's like, God, am I that integrated into my keyboard that saying something stupid, I tried to do the back button on it, and it didn't work. It was just like a weird, muscle memory. So
Holy shit.
yeah, but that instant gratification thing, it's like, that's why I'm just specifically posting progress on what I'm doing, like with my art. Because it's a huge part of my life, but I try to make sure that's as forward as possible, because it's crazy out there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's like really is the Wild West. Like, yeah.
Well, I think it's Wild West in online, period. Like no matter what it is.
Oh, yeah.
You could talk about anything. It's the fucking Wild West. Because like things happen like that.
Instantly. And
Yeah, dude.
now with that chatbot or chat
GPT.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Everyone's
Let's hear.
okay.
Let's hear
let me bring it back.
Adam Serrano's opinion on the chat GPT.
I'm a huge sci-fi nerd, right? So, they can call it AI all they want. Right? That's like the hot word. Like UFOs. If someone says unidentified flying objects, you say what? But if they say UFO, aliens, right? Instantly. Even though it might not be. It might just be,
Right.
you know what I mean? So with AI, people assume that there is, they give it a face. They anthropomorphize the whole situation, if I said that correctly. In reality, all it is just an algorithm and a search engine that's feeding it backward now.
Right.
Instead of us feeding it now that its belly's full, we can ask it things and it just regurgitates it back. When it becomes AI, that's where things get weird. Because they've already released 1 or 2 like minor AI, and especially on Twitter, and I think it instantly spat out racist things, and they had to like shut it down.
Jesus.
I don't know if
It's
anybody.
like Skynet.
It was bad. It was like, because it was just kind of like following everyone's lead. It was weird. So, I think once AI becomes real, I think we need to worry about, what is control anymore. Because if an AI knows us down to the microsecond of how our behavior is, how do we know that our functionality isn't just being controlled? I think that's when the matrix might happen. When AI is so in tune with us that we don't realize that we're being
Right.
guided in certain ways or cold in any way. Like, but right now, we're just feeding this database and it's actually doing some fun stuff. I hate to be all doom and gloom about it, but it's a little scary when, everyone's like, oh, you're going to be out of the job. And I'm like, actually, it's probably just going to turn into a button on my After Effects. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's something that everybody forgets, though. Everybody
Yeah.
automatically thinks it's going to take over everything. It's like, wait a minute.
yeah,
Everything that we've created is going to take over something.
Yeah.
But you still need the human behind it to make it even work.
Yeah.
Now, I know AI, and like you were saying, it's a great point with the AI, and how like it's almost like it's different. It's not what ChatGPT is right now.
Yeah.
ChatGPT is super powerful.
Oh, yeah.
It can do a lot of crazy things, but it just doesn't do it on its own.
Yeah.
Like you have to tell it what to do. And yeah, it's just a really huge search engine. It's just, I think it's only prominent now because it's just, the internet's been around for so long now.
Yeah.
Now it's doing some crazy stuff.
I forgot. Now, is this podcast set up where like I can look to my left and I can ask you to research something?
I don't know.
That doesn't work like that here, right?
No, he's not Jamie.
Okay, gotcha.
He's just McCookie.
Gotcha. Okay, no, you're good. You're good. So there's the I think it's called a kerning test or something where you don't. Someone sets up a situation where you are talking to an AI, and you don't realize it. It's the turning test or something. It has like a weird name like that. I think it might. I mean, not to get all tin hatty, but it might be happening already, where they're allowing AI to talk to people. And I think, first of all, it's probably going to be like provided as a service for companies, right? They just set up an AI that has parameters, it has boundaries, but it can realistically react to an individual on a phone call. You know how many times you're screaming and you're like, I don't want a machine, I want to talk to a person, right? This is confusing. But what if the person you think you're talking to is actually, a high-end AI, that is programmed to sell you bathtubs specifically, right? Those are its boundaries. But what if you talk to an AI one day who has no boundaries? They're given enough information and perhaps given a life to live, kind of like in Blade Runner, where the androids could only really live unless they were given memories of a childhood and living a life. And that allowed them to not just automatically know what was going on. It came from an instinct. So once they allow AI to do that, and then all of a sudden we're talking to AI online, and we don't realize it, I think that's going to be like, the scary part. I think that's what I'm waiting for. I want to, before I die, I want to know that an AI passed that test or that aliens exist. Just give me one of those two before I die.
I think the AI thing's going to come first.
Oh, yeah, it has to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I at least want to live long enough to they find like a microbe or something on Mars. Like there was some sort of life somewhere else. A cellular, like the thing that made life happen was starting to happen somewhere else. If I can like know that before I die, that'll bring my heart such peace.
Do you really think there's no life anywhere else though?
So here's the thing. Oh God.
The universe is so big.
But what if the probability for life is so minuscule, very, very tiny, like if you throw a pile of Legos at a wall enough times, right? Just a big old pile of random Legos. If you keep picking it up and throwing it at a wall, you might end up with a perfect cube by accident, right? But how many times did you have to throw it against the wall to get that?
Right.
The pile of Legos is the universe, right? And after billions and billions of years of throwing Legos at the wall, the universe produced the perfect planet within the perfect solar system with perfect levels of radiation and all that stuff, and you got us. What if all of the observable universe, because of the way the Big Bang happened, we happen to be the only universe where something gently different caused us, but it doesn't happen anywhere else. So that's the scary part. Or we're just babies. We're too young to listen to the universe or observe it in the way other species might. We're very primitive. Like even though we're throwing rockets into space and, sci-fi writers are creating Star Wars and things like that, I don't think we have an understanding of space the way higher beings. We're not even level 1 on the Kardashev scale. Like we barely have control over our own planet, let alone a neighboring, moon or whatever. But there might be a type 3 civilization that we just don't see because they're moving too fast or they're using a different type of signal.
That's crazy.
You know? Dude, what if aliens show up and say, hey, yeah, outer space is like water. You could just throw like here's a jet ski motor for space, have fun, you know? And then it's like, wait a minute, like space is water? It's because we've only been able to look at it a certain way.
Right.
You know? So how funny would that be?
Well, I was listening to Rogan this morning, actually, and he was saying, it was with Adam Curry, one of the recent ones, and he was talking about how, like, so, you know, technically things happened 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But there's proof that things existed 5,000 years ago, like from the pyramids or whatever. And they were trying to say that there's somewhat scientific proof that comets or something started hitting the earth and like got rid of almost everyone, and the ones that survived were just like the builders. And so like technically civilization or humans existed and got to that point where they were building the pyramids and doing this crazy shit, and then these comets came and like ruined it all.
Yeah.
And then they just had to like rebuild again. So we're technically the rebuilders, and they were the like more advanced species, and we're just the rebuilders trying to get to that point.
Well, so I'm a huge Star Trek nerd, like hardcore Trekkie, right? There's an episode where all these rival alien species all have different pieces to an artifact, and each piece is a part of a map, and they think that this map leads to a super weapon. So you have the Klingons, you have the Klingons, you have the humans, you have we have like several species, right? The Cardassians, right? So they're all, you know, battling and trying to get to each planet, yada, yada. They finally get to the end. And now all these species are in that classic Star Trek set where there's like rocks in the background and smoke. Yeah. And it's not a weapon. It is a hologram of this almost smooth, shapeless being, and explains that they are the first species that left whatever planet and seeded all these other planets. And that technically the Klingons, the Cardassians, the humans, because they have the star child formation, which is, you know, humanoid, a head, 2 arms, and two legs, they all derive from this one species. Even though they all have different organs and color and horns on their head, whatever, they all derive from this one. Now, if we go back to the theory that Earth is the only actual planet with human life or intelligent life, this planet is so old, and as humans, we've only been around for like a nanosecond compared to the lifetime. We went from throwing wooden planes off of hills. In 100 years, we broke the sound barrier, right? It only took 100 years, right? What if there were other humanoid species before us, and it took them only 100 years to suddenly develop flight and whatever not, you know? What if some of those species were actually given an opportunity to live and last longer than we might, you know? Like we have a space station in orbit, but what if a past species was like, screw the space station, like we're just building a ship in space and going out there. So what if the universe is actually, what if we are the center of the universe? And several species have grown, developed, and left, and the Earth just, you know, shakes off the dust and then does it all over again, you know? If right now, if a solar flare or a comet were to hit Earth and totally wipe out human life, it would only take 100,000 years for it to be completely unrecognizable, completely. Full nature, you know, of course you dig deep and find things like plastics and things like that, but, you know, Earth would just start over, you know? And then what, the cephalopods would take over? I would love that, by the way. If octopus would just take over, they are the coolest. Like, I think if we all die, the cephalopods are going to take over. Or, you know, fungi being the largest species on Earth, like maybe they'll start getting smart, you know, and then Earth's nervous system comes alive, because that's what it is. I think if aliens visit, they're not going to talk to us. They're going to put a microphone next to a mushroom. You know what I mean? So.
Wow.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, it's totally, I mean, I never, you know.
That
it's
rant
so
was
cool.
brought to you by Monster Rehab.
Monster Rehab. It's cool to go off the agenda a bit, because normally I bring people on and we talk about them, which is great.
Yeah.
But I tried this new thing today, even with the last podcast. I'm like, I'm just going to start talking.
Yeah.
You know, and I love it, because I think you get to learn more about the person by just listening to what their interests are. And and what they're into. And I just really wanted to bring you on and talk about design, but wow, Trekkie, talking about fungi and what the universe could be.
Yeah.
And
I'm a graphic artist.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that actually covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, I dig it because it just brings me into more of your brain and like your mindset in a way, and like what you're into and like how you live your life every day. Believe it or not, that little snippet just tells me so much more about you than you going, well, I went to this school and I worked here, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but it's very interesting to do that, and that's just growth. You know, growth of just even doing this and talking to different people. You start getting more comfortable with just like blah, you know.
Well, sometimes, you know, well, I've done a handful of interviews like where, you know, if I do, so for example, I did a mural in Lancaster, and it was one of the biggest ones I've ever done. Right, I was super proud about it. The whole project scared the crap out of me. I was like 40 feet in the air every day, like doing this like 3-story building that looks like an upside down pagoda, right?
Okay.
Like, so it's shaped like that. So imagine getting a scissor lift so far, and then the roof will jet out at an angle, and then there's another. Yeah. So it was just, you know, but I got interviewed for that. And, you know, they asked all these questions, and I started noticing with the interviews over the years, whether it's in the newspaper or online or whatever, it was almost like my Pokemon card. You know, like I would see the same photo that I would send to all these places, and it would be the same stats. You know what I mean? You know, Brooklyn, you know, based Latino artist, does graphic design for the community, but has been dabbling, blah, 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 blah. His defense, you know, he's a water type. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so, but I don't know. I think, you know what it was? Knowing that you didn't have a mustache with your beard made me comfortable. This guy is about his shit. You know, oh, can we swear on this?
Yo, fuck yeah.
Okay, gotcha. This guy's about his shit. I'm going to enjoy him. He has, you know, enough similarities to my beard and face where, yeah, we're part of that species. So, like, if we were Pokemon cards, we'd be like, you know, pixel ghost type or something. Like, and then you like, you know, you throw a Pokemon ball out and it would just be literally a head with a beard and like thick glasses. And I wonder what the evolution, I'm going to draw that, the evolutions of each character.
Meat boys with thick glasses.
Yeah, dude. Oh, man. That almost sounds like an indie band from New York. The meat boy and the thick glasses.
Well, you said Brooklyn based. You born in Brooklyn?
Yeah. So I was born, you know, in Brooklyn, grew up in Williamsburg, right by the water where the old Domino Sugar Factory used to be. And I grew up in a primarily, you know, Jewish neighborhood. We were the last brownstone in the neighborhood. So you had all the gray buildings, all the Jewish families, and then you had us. You know, classic Hispanic home. There were like 3 or 4 families living in one apartment building, you know? So, which kind of, that actually screwed up a lot of my self-awareness because, you know, I was used to leaving one door with a number, going up a flight of stairs and then opening up another door with a number and knowing that's where dinner was going to be tonight because Titi was cooking. So when we would move to when we moved to another apartment building, right away I realized that's not how it works. So I'm like knocking on the door and this lady's like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "You cooking today? You cooking son?" My mom's like, "No, not here. She doesn't know you." So, but yeah. And then around 10 years old, my mom had my sister, and then, you know, it was kind of tough being a single mom in New York. But of course, you know, Wella is the superhero always. So my grandmother her and my grandfather moved to Lancaster, took me with them, and I lived with them for about a year or 2 until my mom saved up, got a job in Lancaster, and then finally met up with us. But for those 2 years, you know, we were doing the whole church homeschool thing. So my English was awful. Like, English was like my second language. But when you're learning English from a bunch of, you know, titis that just smoke cigarettes and have the thickest accents, it just doesn't, you know, and my Spanish was good, but then I'd go to talk English and it was just like, I'm like, yeah, the red bicycle, that's a red bicycle. Like, it just wasn't.
I'm sorry.
No, it's the truth,
way you
though.
said that was just hilarious.
My aunt would be at the bottom of the stairs with a cigarette in her mouth, and she's like, "Okay, time to learn. That is a blue truck. Can you say blue truck?" Like, and it was just, Yeah, but so when my mom finally, came to Lancaster and we started, living our lives together like that, my mom put me in the school system, and I had a speech therapy teacher for like 5 years named Mr. Hoagie. Shout out to Mr. Hoagie. Super tall guy, like towering man. And he sounded like a radio host, right? So imagine me, right? This big-headed, pale child in a room full of, we got Mexicans and Puerto Ricans and Chinese and Japanese and, from all around the world. They were in this room to learn English. And I felt so awkward because I ended up just mimicking him more than it was learning how to talk.
Right.
So over the years, I had this 1057 the X, like it just,
That sounded pretty good though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've done countless radio things, but that right there, it like haunted me because I would introduce friends to my family, and the immediate question was, even though I looked like my father and everything, they thought I was either like the mailman's baby or adopted, because they'd meet my dad and he was just a few, dials down on the color tone, but he had a thick accent and you couldn't understand half of or thick Brooklyn accent. And he talked like Yoda,
Yeah.
So, yeah, but growing up, I think that's what made me feel a little more worldly, is that I'm constantly crossing dimensions and spaces with people. And I'm like, yeah, this is just the robot body I was given. It's got to travel with it. Yeah.
What's your background?
Huh?
Puerto Rican?
So, yeah, my dad's Puerto Rican. And then on my mom's side, that's the Mexican side of the family.
Nice.
So somehow, redheaded, freckled Mexicans.
They exist.
And then, yeah, they definitely do.
They do.
When they're not catching fire out there. So, but yeah. Yeah.
My cookie's loving you,
Yeah.
man.
How hard it is to do this and not laugh out loud.
I can imagine. And I'm like trying not to look at him because all I see is this. I just see your eyes. But yeah, so no, it was interesting growing up with those two aspects. One was Christian, one was Catholic. One would cook, one would go out to like Villalobos and pick up food instead.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it was cool. A lot of the same toys every year. I got doubles constantly because nobody would communicate. Like those sides of family wouldn't communicate. So I'd get two Wolverines, and I'm like, damn it.
2 Christmases.
Yeah, dude. It's like, but they wouldn't communicate. So I would get the same. It was hilarious, which led me to like just painting my toys and like customizing my figures. But yeah.
Is that where it started? Like your whole inspiration for art and all that stuff?
Oh, for sure. Like, first of all, growing up in Brooklyn and just being surrounded by graffiti.
Yep.
I never realized that graffiti was bad. I just thought in my head, I'm like, oh, this is like some tribal shit. This is just what we do as humans is, we scratch on bathroom walls and paint buildings and stuff like, and it wasn't really until I came to Lancaster that I was like, oh, like there's barely any art on anything. Even though Lancaster's known for its art, there was just nothing anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, my dad was a graffiti writer, and my mom was a seamstress. So, when it came to fashion or art or whatever, like it was just a constant. My dad would have lowrider magazines. That, you want to talk about art that was inspiring, because most of it was just done with a ballpoint pen. So like I would try to, that cholo art was a huge influence in my life. Pinstriping. You know what I mean? The techniques for stenciling when they would stencil skulls on the side of like Cadillacs, like a lot of that DIY. This was painted by somebody kind of vibe. Like that's And then in high school, when I got into Linkin Park and Slipknot, and my mom would hand make Jinko jeans for me, and I would spray paint like logos all over it. And
that's cool.
Yeah, that was like, I think that was when I first, like when I came out. I'm like, I'm an artist, guys. Like, like I'm here. So, and yeah, so it just, especially being a McCaskey kid. And I feel like, man, you would have been an amazing McCaskey kid. McCaskey High School is like the inner city high school, but it's like all walks of life. Like it's the neighborhood high school. And it was hard to be in a clique in a high school like that because we would all have to walk home together. So I lived in a housing development called Almanac Avenue, and whether you were a goth kid or the Cuban kid with the weird jeans that kind of looked like mine, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we kind of, you know what I mean? So we all just went home together. Like it didn't feel cliquey because, we were buying limbes with each other or our moms would trade food or someone needed a ride, you know what I mean? So, or babysitting. So growing up with a lot of that led to like my, 20s into my 30s, where a lot of the people I hung out with were starting their hip hop careers, or they were now in a metal band, or starting a restaurant or a clothing store. And we all just kept it in the neighborhood. And, if I was kept busy as long as they were busy. So it just became this integration. And my career kind of snowballed because I would leave the Chameleon Club taking photos of Texas in July. Anybody? Texas in July?
I've heard of them.
Okay. It's the August Burns Red era. But I would leave that, and then I would go to an underground cipher and confirm, okay, this is what your mixtape's going to look like. I would bring my laptop, have my skateboard with me, leave the Chameleon Club, go to this underground cipher. Then I would go to a drag show, right? And then help with videography for that event. And then at the end of the night, I would go to the new pizza shop that my friend opened, and I would help him with his window graphics, his vinyl. Sounds awesome, right? Sounds like an adventure. I barely got paid for a lot of that I did. You know how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But it took about 10 years of just being the homie, just being there. People had dope ideas, but they didn't know how to implement visually what was going on. So I would just lay it out for them. And then all of a sudden, as long as they were passionate about it, I would, give that same ganas.
Mm-hmm.
I would give that same.
Talk about that shit all
yes,
the time.
it's real.
I say it.
It's
I'm
a
like, las
thing.
ganas. I'm
Dude.
like, you got to have that shit.
Yeah. And you can trade it. It's like a currency. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
dude.
It's like, so, eventually when I actually really wanted to start charging people, I had years to show like, hey, this is why I'm charging you $3,000 for whatever. Like, because it took me 10 years to get to this point.
Exactly, bro. I was talking about that yesterday. I was talking to my man, Will, my designer, Will. I was like, bro, you don't charge for length of time it takes you to make shit. You're charging them for the experience you have. I'm like, if this shit takes you 5 minutes, that don't matter.
Yeah.
It's your experience to get to the point where you can do that shit in 5 minutes, bro.
And that's, and I forgot that quote. There's a goofy quote about, if you pay cheaper for a good job or whatever. I forgot how that goes. But a lot of my friends who are now breaking into mural art, they're like, how do I charge? And I'm like, measure a canvas that you've done. Just measure the outside of it. A canvas that you only spent like an hour or two on, that you're comfortable with. You're like, boom, that's art, right? Measure that. And then tell me how much you charge for that canvas, right? Was it $300, $400, right? Now, is that canvas 4 square inches or for a square feet or whatever? Now, times that by the square footage of the wall that you're about to do, right? And then finagle the number from there. Because if you don't hit that mark either above or slightly below, then your hourly rate, because if you stop to do the math, and I'm guilty of it, you're guilty of it, where when the project is done and we say $400, right? And then we calculate it, it's like, damn, I only pay myself $5 an hour on this project.
Yeah.
So you have to have, if your heart, because it takes, I know everyone's like, but you got to get that money. But some people just don't have that heart to really get down to the net grit, and their ego won't, or their lack of ego won't allow them to just put a stamp on, no, I'm worth $80 an hour. I'm going to charge you $2,000 because I know I'm going to go over this limit, and you let the client know I don't want to go below $60 an hour, right? So if you want more time on this, you know what I mean? We'll work the numbers, but yeah, you just have to know what you're worth. And, I've had some recent big boy jobs, and that's the thing is graphic design isn't glamorous. you have to give yourself credit for what you do. And yes, it took a long time for you to get there, but it's not glamorous. Like, you go nameless on a lot of awesome things.
Yeah.
Right. So, when you enter a project, especially a big boy one where you have to sign an NDA, you can't talk about it. Right. I have friends who work with Disney all the time. And even though the stuff they do is, simple, they design like kids tees for like H&M or whatever.
Yeah.
They can't say anything about it or leak it online or have their email compromised. That's a big boy job. So I recently landed one of those. And you're worth more when the person who's talking to you is a fan of your work. They've seen it before. You've been referenced. Someone, told them about you. And they're so stoked about your work. And you're thinking, oh, I'm going to hit him. I'm going to hit him with a meaty number, a big fat boy number. So I said, all right, well, I don't want to get paid, any less than like 80 an hour. And the person on the other line who owns a multi-million-dollar company goes, like laughs, like giggles. I'm like, 80 an hour? And they're like, you should be charging like 300 an hour. And when someone in the industry looks at your work, loves your work, and it tells you that, well, first of all, you're a little fucked because now you can't. But second, now you had an industry person tell you what you're worth. And sometimes you have to gamble, and you might have to have somebody on that caliber let you know what you're worth, because when you're in a small town, like who's there to tell you that you're worth, $3K for even just talking to you on the phone?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I encourage any artists out there to find a way to communicate with somebody who's on that top floor. And I'm not talking about, someone designing for Marvel or whatever, but just someone who has maybe a firm in New York, and you just want to pick their brain or follow them online and ask them a simple question. The worst you're going to get is, a no or no response. But you'd be surprised. There might be someone in the industry who's on that level, who's going to look at your work, and like all artists should be, is critiqued and tailored, right? So that's the only way you learn. Someone tells you like, hey, the taste level on this design needs to be brought down a bit. And that's how you learn constantly. I can't even tell you how many skulls I had to remove from designs. Like, Adam, there's too many skulls on this t-shirt design. We're only selling mayonnaise. So, yeah.
That's such a good point, dude. That's first of all, I think, I love that you even brought up how you should be talking to people in the industry that's a little higher up, because I've done that in the past. I try to push that on friends of mine that are in like somewhat of what I'm doing, Joseph McCookie, on how they need to, charge their stuff. And that's like gold, because I've talked to a lot of guys, in my industry in the New York area, because I was born in Brooklyn, grew up in Queens.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, dude.
Dude.
And I moved out to Long Island, and there's a friend of mine that's out there on ZDI. He's done shit for networks. And like I talked to him, I'm like, bro, what'd you do for this? What'd you do for that? And he's helped me without me asking. He comes in and kind of just tells you, you know, and I'm like, and I appreciate that stuff, dude, because you don't know where you stand. You don't know and when you're here in Berks, it's a great place to live, small community. It's not New York City.
No.
You know what I mean? So the pricing gets a little funky.
Oh, yeah.
But even then, though, man, when you got some work behind you and you can back that shit up.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever,
well,
bro.
And it's all dependent on the client. Because if you're not doing a job for Coca-Cola or Nike or whatever, but you're doing a job for, Joe Who's a What's It's, and he's willing to pay you, like, especially, and this is a question we all need to learn and learn how to ask it correctly. What is your budget? Right? When you ask a client that question, it's a gamble, right? Because they're going to be like, well, blah, blah. Like a band is spending so much money on recording and music video, and they only can muster up $800 for an album cover, right? Even though you're only going to charge them $300 because the album cover is something it's like 3 layers in Photoshop with some typography. Now you know, right? And then you can charge that price if you like. But if a client is just like, has that deep pocket where they're willing to almost own you for a month, right? Because that's another thing. As a graphic artist, you have 1,000 hands in different pots because you're trying to keep the bills paid.
Right.
But once in a while, you hit that client that becomes your number one focus for a month, what were you even talking about? I keep rambling. I I think we were talking about you were from Queens.
Yeah, I was from Queens, went to
Yeah.
Long Island.
Yes.
We were talking about how people can, enlighten you on what you should be charging for your stuff.
Yeah. I think the point I was trying to make was, if you're fighting at black belt level at your dojo, right? And everyone is at a black belt level. The world changes when you go to like an older karate school. You know what I mean? Your jujitsu and their karate are two different things, right? One's either more dangerous than the other, whatever, but you don't know if you can survive that fight unless you get a taste. You know what I mean? You challenge the dojo master and then your life becomes an 80s action movie, right? So sometimes you got to do that. You got to the whole concept of grass is greener on the other side. It's not just that things are better on the other side, but it's probably different, and you can learn from that. But man, I mean, we all have supercomputers in our pockets.
Literally.
Like we're all walking upright humanoids with supercomputers that we don't even really use correctly, So as a graphic artist, I spend way too much time on like Pinterest, and I'm looking at designers who are doing full spread, whether it's Nike ads or from like a lot of high fashion stuff. I love looking at high fashion graphic design and photography because that's where the trends are, right? And then all of a sudden you're following a specific artist, and you're like, oh, it's just some dude my age who's pumping these out. And he lives with his mom in Chicago, like, and then you realize you're capable of it. You just have to implement, like, what do you have? What is it that about you is something that people want to buy? And you don't have to have the craziest computer or the wildest cameras.
Absolutely.
It's really about where you are and then putting your name out there. Yeah. There's a lot to be said about it. But at the end of the day, it's just like, just do it.
Yeah,
not to quote Nike, but damn it, or what's his face? Shia LaBeouf. Do it. So yeah, I mean, and the world is scary. I get it. It's rejection is a tough thing, especially as an artist. But the reality of it is, when you get rejected, the memory of you, unless you said something weird, like you screamed the word pineapple and farted during the meeting, like no one is going to remember you.
Yeah.
No one is they're going to move on to the next artist or the next situation. And the only thing you can do is just learn from that mistake, polish your shit, just keep going. You almost have to take it on the chin every time, because unless it's a project or something that's passionate to you and it's based off of your direction, if you're just getting hired to design a pamphlet, if they don't like your pamphlet, and if they're not screwing you over with money or whatever, just take it on the chin. It's okay. Get better at pamphlet making, But yeah, it's all about growth.
I mean, Adam, with that, I want to say thanks for coming in, bro.
Thank you for letting me ramble.
That was amazing, though, because everything you said I'm like, fucking A. That's just what it is, bro.
I don't get too much like human interaction. I'm literally in my office.
Yeah.
All day. And
that was me for many years.
I'm like Schrodinger's cat. I do not exist unless you call me or talk to me, because if not, I could be dead in my room. Nobody would know. Not that I would be. And if I was, it'd probably be from inhaling too much foam particles. I've been making so many masks. I'll bring one in. But yeah, I just love the fact that I can interact with people. So,
I love the fact that you came in. I love the fact that you designed my death metal shirt, that you're just, I guess you're done with the 80s logo. I don't know.
We can keep going.
No, I know. I got another one.
Yeah.
No, that's why I'm like.
No, I mean on the design. I mean
I'm leaving it up to you, man, because
okay.
I don't want to say, "Oh, are you done yet?" I don't want to say anything.
Yeah, because I was going to add some like Abrams.
I want the artist to let me know. Okay, Freddie, here you go.
I'm going to add more Kubrickness to it.
My wife loved it. I mean, we looked at the first one, like, that's cool. I got the second one. I was like, holy.
I can't wait to see it.
My wife was like, yo, and my wife loves mountains.
Oh.
She loves views.
Okay.
So when she saw that, and she was like, how the fuck did he know? I'm like,
I can add more.
Adam's crazy.
I'm gonna get weird with it. I think I want to make
Dude,
this look like a vinyl. Of course.
I don't.
Yeah.
You do what you do. The
Sweet.
voodoo that you do.
Oh.
But yo, thanks for coming in, bro. It was a
you.
great conversation. We will be doing this again. I'm gonna bother you again.
No, of course.
It was great that it was like last minute, but you came in and fucking A, bro.
Appreciate it. And I live right across the street. Let me know.
I know.
And I'm also I'm gonna look forward to drinking coffee out of your face.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's why I made them. That's what I want to hear every time.
Yeah. Oh, is this a pin?
Crocs.
Yo, dude.
You got Crocs?
You made a gibbet. I know we gotta go, but I'm gonna a quick story.
Yeah.
I hate Crocs with all my life. My girlfriend finally is teaching me how to be cozy. She bought me my first pair of jogging pants and a robe, and then she got me Crocs, right? And then reluctantly, I don't want to wear these, so I wore them. I accidentally left the house. Went to Home Depot wearing the Crocs, and I was like, I'm gonna be shamed in this place. You know how many dudes were hauling lumber around with their Crocs?
Many dudes.
So you know what? Whatever. So I went to the mall, and one of my favorite sneakerhead shops had a glass case by the register. You know what was in that glass case? Super rare, dope ass gibbets. And my dude, who I see as the coolest person in the world, he goes, "Yo, what kind of Crocs you got?" I was like, "Yeah, I got the simple ones with strap. Yo, check these out." And he showed me all-terrain Crocs. Have you seen all-terrain Crocs?
No.
Google it. The fact that you got a gibbet.
Well, I thought it was cool because my wife loves Crocs, my kids wear them, and I was like, oh, I can make my own, and they glow in the dark, by the way.
No, come on.
They glow in the dark.
This is so rad.
And that's just stickers. Good old
I
stickers,
love it. 10 years.
Yeah, 10
so
years
funny.
last year, man.
I can't wait till people mistaken this logo for me.
You know what?
Because I literally look, I'm wearing the hat right now.
I'd be honored.
That's so
if
funny.
they said, I'd be like, wow, that's a compliment.
Dang. Well, hey, appreciate you, dude.
Dude, thank you for coming in, man.
Awesome.
We'll do it again real soon.
For sure. FXV out. That's a free sample. You can use that whenever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hey, thank you for checking out this episode of Fred Talk. If you dug what you saw, make sure you like and subscribe so you never miss another episode. You can also check us out online at fredtalk.tv. Don't forget, your Uncle Freddy loves you. Peace.